Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
If I were going to name this podcast, it would be Why We're All Broke, You Just Don't Know It Yet. My name is Mike Wiginton. This is Tom Farrell. Welcome back to another edition of Common Sense Finance.
That's a good title. You know, we were talking about this the other day. I have a friend of mine that's a contractor, and he was telling me about a house he's building. And the house is mostly finished. The construction is mostly finished, but it hasn't had windows in months. He's still waiting on windows in. So he's having the supply of a lot of those building materials and other stuff is really backlogged right now. So that's pretty interesting.
Well, I've had my own personal experience, and I appreciate. I think there's real value in those anecdotals. Maybe the time frames, positive or minus, but I think that's important information to have. But I walked in a Dollar General to buy batteries for my key fob. Empty, the rack's empty. I thought to myself, that's just bad management, man. They're not taking care of their inventory just right. And perhaps that is in fact the case. But get a load of this. If you go and buy appliances, go to Home Depot and buy a new refrigerator, see what happens with that. Go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or Ace Hardware and try to buy a nail gun, just a typical nail gun, that attaches to an air compressor. Do you want to nail some things? Try to find one of those. I spoke to a friend of ours that is a very successful car salesman. Spoke to him as early as this morning. I said, what's the situation if I buy a new car? He says, we can take your order, okay, but we don't know if it'll be when it'll be delivered. Could be 2 or 3 months, and we can't guarantee you that. He said, we have a couple of customers that ordered 2020 Corvettes 18 to 24 months ago, and they're still not here. I don't know if y'all have kept up with this or not. This is 2021 now, and those were 2020 Corvettes. So there's lots of things going on here that have both economic and significant economic and significant investment themes to them, okay? And they bore people. You and I talk about what's the basis of all value?
Scarcity.
Scarcity is the basis of all value. Yeah. So everybody's kind of aware of what's happened with our money supply. You don't refer to it as that, but the stimulus programs, the checks, and so forth that have occurred in the last 2 years, especially a year and a half, all right? And think about this. You can't just take a thing, I don't care what that thing is, and increase its supply like grains of sand on the seashore without affecting its value, okay? Number two, I would submit to you is that we are a semblance of a market economy. The things that people think about in terms of economics or capitalism and so forth, not exactly right, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We are still largely the way we buy things, the way we consume things is based on a market economy. We know the way resources are allocated in market economies through the price mechanism.
Right.
All right, so take those two things, and what I'm saying to you is that you cannot increase the supply of a thing like money. And in this day and age, we have this shortage of goods. It could be because of the COVID-19 situation. There's some real things there with supply chain shut down. So you've got all this money chasing this few goods, okay?
Right.
And here's what I'm saying. We've been talking about in this country for at least 4, 5 years, the Fed trying to engineer inflation, trying to make inflation happen, and largely it hasn't happened. And now I think you are in a unique situation. Have we had a pandemic lately in our lifetimes other than this? So you've got this COVID-19 situation that happens with the Fed increasing money supply at the same time. One of the biggest worries I have is the onset of significant inflation and what that's going to do to all sorts of investors.
Yeah, especially if you're talking about a bond investor that's looking for some safety, maybe more steady type of income investment, and being a new bond buyer in this day and age is probably not the most
savvy move.
Yeah. People that are wanting to be risk averse, it's probably not going to be the best move for them at this point.
I absolutely agree with you. And we've complained about that today the kind of corporate bonds that would have yielded us, the criteria, doesn't matter what it is, that would have yielded us 4.5% or 5% just a few short years ago, now are like 1.25%. And you're going to take what kind of risk to get that? And you know, bond prices go down when interest rates go up. So it's you wind up with a double whammy. Yeah, I agree with you. I would not want to be a new bond investor. You know, the folks that still have those bonds on their books from a few years ago were sitting pretty nice. Yeah, but as far as a new bond investor, I would urge folks to have a little bit longer thinking process about that. Yeah. Think twice.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, a lot of people are thinking, well, because COVID is causing all of this stuff, but I mean, like you said, that I'm sure that is a contributing factor because factories have had to shut down for certain lengths of time and things like that. But anytime you throw that much money into the system and you have people that may be, you know, working from home or, you know, quarantine, whatever, and they're doing little projects around the house, doing things, they have extra money to spend, it's going to cause some scarcity issues for a lot of these products.
Yep, I agree. And I would tell everybody, if you have any interest in this conversation at all, I would go back and I would take a look at our one of our earlier podcasts, the babysitting co-op. And so, and that might interest you as well if you're clued in on this conversation. So with that said, until next time.